Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Tuesday, May 2nd, and we're continuing to talk about freedom today, and that's going to bring us into Galatians 5. Now, I looked up the meaning of freedom in John 8, which we talked about yesterday, and it literally just means to be free from the bondage of sin. That's what Christ meant when he said, "Who the Son sets free is free indeed." And I want you to have that at the forefront of your mind as we start to look at chapter 5 of Galatians. And this is what it says: "For freedom, Christ has set us free." Now think that through. Why did Christ set us free? Simply so we could have that freedom from that bondage of sin. "Stand firm then, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery." What's this yoke of slavery? It's that yoke of feeling like you have to follow all these rules. You're stuck in these regimens and you've got to keep these routines and things like that. It's that bondage of sin. All of that is that yoke of slavery. Verse 2. "Look, I, Paul, say to you that if you accept circumcision, Christ will be of no advantage to you." Now, he's not talking about the actual act of circumcision. What he's talking about is the spirit of religion that inflicts these routines upon us. You know, back in the Old Testament times, you did not belong to God if you were a boy and you were not circumcised. It was considered that you did not belong to God, that you were not a follower of God. But now we're in those New Testament times. Christ has made that sacrifice on the cross. He has risen from the dead. We have the gospel now. "I testify again to every man who accepts circumcision that he is obligated to keep the whole law." Now, when you think about the law, there were hundreds and hundreds of rules that they had to follow, and nobody could ever possibly get it right. Now, that law still has value to us because it points out our sin. But we have to remember that the price was paid for that sin. "You are severed from Christ, you who would be justified by the law. You have fallen away from grace." Remember, that spirit of religion's entire purpose is to remove the grace. And when you get stuck in that law and the burden of having to keep all that law, you are stuck in that spirit of religion and you've removed that grace. Verse 5. "For through the Spirit, by faith, we ourselves eagerly wait for the hope of righteousness." Now, we're doing this through the Spirit. By our faith, we wait and we hope for that righteousness. Now, it's not the kind of hope where it's like, oh, I hope this event happens and goes the way I think it's going to go. It's the kind of hope where you know for a fact that on this day, this is going to happen. Now, we don't know the exact day, but we know that Christ is going to return and come get us. "For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision counts for anything. Only faith working through love." That faith is the pinnacle part that gives you that freedom. "You were running well. Who hindered you from obeying the truth? This persuasion is not from him who calls you." So people who point out and say, you don't have enough faith, you don't have enough, you're not showing that you love Jesus, you're not glorifying God. They're always pointing out all your flaws, but they're not looking at their own flaws. They're removing that grace. That's that spirit of religion. "A little leaven leavens the whole lump." Now, we can remain pure and focused on glorifying Christ, and that may spread through the people around us. "I have confidence in the Lord that you will take no other view, and the one who is troubling you will bear the penalty, whoever he is." Now, he's saying that there's going to be a penalty for the people that are trying to get you to engage in the spirit of religion and remove the grace. "But if I, brothers, still preach circumcision, why am I still being persecuted? In that case, the offense of the cross has been removed. I wish those who unsettle you would emasculate themselves." Don't let somebody unsettle you and try to convince you that what you're believing is false. Try to convince you that you're not good enough. The whole point of the gospel is none of us are good enough. The person that's pointing out to you that you're not good enough also is not good enough. The point of the gospel is that you're covered by that unending, constantly flowing grace. Through that grace, you are able to live in that freedom and know that you're not under that bondage of sin anymore. So as you go into your prayer closet today, pour out your heart to God and let him know where that spirit of religion is creeping up on you, because it tries to creep up on all of us. And just be very open with him about that and very focused on who he is and that grace. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.